live in the dungeon. This is the Dream Warrior Review. I'm Kurt Thomas.
I'm Miq Strawn.
Picture this.
Yes.
Sicily, No, sorry. I was watching Golden Girls.
What? Oh, you okay? Right.
A man is attacked at random on the street, so he enlists at a local dojo. Led by a charismatic and mysterious sensei in an effort to learn how to defend himself.
And it's the star is Jesse
Eisenberg.
And we know him from the Facebook movie.
We know him from everywhere.
Yeah, I've seen him a lot.
Yes. And he is watchable.
Oh, yeah.
The production design on this was amazing.
I knew you were going to say production design.
The production design was amazing. It was very, very, very laid back.
It was very simple. Like
it was very simple.
The bar.
Yeah, the bar. Well, everything. There was a simple.
Well, they used Napoleon Dynamite's house. The couch and the kitchen.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it looked just like Napoleon Dynamite.
Right, house. but they were so careful to pull as much tchotchke out of it. I mean, there's a medium level of stuff that Americans have, and every location that you went to in this was less than that.
Oh yeah,
and it was very interesting, especially the studio. The karate studio itself had nothing on the walls.
Just one picture, basically.
It had that kind of. It was just barely a fraction away from being an abandoned building, but it seemed perfect for this because there was a hollowness to everything that was going on that was echoed in the building of. Where
even in the way people talked and the way the dialogue and everything.
You know what? The dialogue reminded me of Mamet in a way because it had a cadence to it.
I don't think I saw that one.
David Mamet? You didn't?
Mamet?
Yeah, Mamet.
Okay.
You know how Mamet does a half poetry, half prose.
I was thinking of a movie.
Oh, no.
I was like, I haven't heard of that one.
No, David Mamet.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. See, no, it had a cadence to it. It was.
Yeah, it did, totally.
I noticed that part of the cadence had to do with saying exactly the same line, where the context of the line changed the meaning of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which was
Casey,
clever.
He was. I like how he changed from like the beginning, how he talked,
right,
very frail guy, and then toward the end, it's a little different. He's evolved.
Well, I thought what was interesting was that that when you see him in the beginning, you think autism, right?
Yeah.
And so many of those elements were still there at the end. But it was directed in a different direction, and it was kind of cool. I mean, I thought that he had a really good arc. I thought that a lot.
It was amazing.
I thought that a lot of people had some really interesting arcs in this.
It wasn't that predictable either, because like I've seen movies like this where the guy's frail at the beginning, does something, and then it's a really obvious pattern.
Oh yeah,
This had little surprises in it.
Yeah, and not only that, there was a
not ruining anything, obviously.
But. Yeah, there was.
It's
funny. I'm trying to.
I'd like to give you some examples.
Yeah, but you can't.
This had a little flavor that I liked. It was a little. I can't say that either. It was really rough compared to what I expected.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way.
It was. It was not a smoothed out.
Well, I mean, some of the things that happened were rougher.
Well, yeah, but not only that, the whole style of it.
This was not Karate Kid,
right? Absolutely not. No, it had that whole, along with the production design, the even all the wardrobe design was super simple, with the touches of color really meaning something, and that's indicative of the world of karate anyway. But it was really interesting. It was. I mean, it was not a laugh out loud comedy.
No, it had some humor in it though, for sure.
Yeah, it did have humor to it, but it also kind of made you think about obsession.
Mm-hmm.
made you think about being the member of a group for the sake of being a member of the group.
Right.
So it had a lot of little morals in it that were very interesting.
And I think he felt like Groucho Marx, where he didn't want to be a member of a group
right,
that would have him.
of a group that would have anything to do with him.
Right.
That's absolutely right. No, absolutely. And some of the traps of favoritism and that it was really interesting.
There was one good line, but I can't really.
You can't say that. You can't say any of this.
Here, I'll say it.
We can't be saying this.
I'm going to say it now.
Okay. Right, that's it. Yeah. Brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
The music sucked.
The music was horrible.
The music was really bad.
This
but
was filmed in Louisville, Kentucky, and you got to wonder what their budget was. And they probably used local artists, I've imagined.
Yeah, it seemed that way.
It felt like that, but I don't know the artists, so I can't really say
you
that
know.
I know.
It's almost like a lot of the things. Sort of like the thought behind Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Texas Chainsaw Massacre didn't look like it was filmed very well, right? And this had that kind of feel to it. It didn't feel, it felt empty. And it was interesting that within that vacancy, there was the vacancy of these people kind of came along to not fill that vacancy.
And there were some interesting, but there were some characters that were more interesting that stood out.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt.
I mean, the guy with the
right.
You know,
there was a great. You know what was weird is the violence that was in that film, and it had little bits of violence as it went along. Was always hitting you completely, completely out of the blue. It was like, oh wow.
Well, that's actually one thing I liked about this. I'm going to use that A word again. There were some really absurd moments that were like over the top, but it kind of fit the tone. If that makes any sense.
Did. Yeah, so. Because there was something about it that was a little bit magic realism.
Right.
You know? Yeah. If I had anything to quibble with, I actually I don't think I have anything.
Well, I did
to
mention the
with.
bar. I did thought that was kind of lame.
Right.
There's a sign outside. And that's it. It was probably just somebody's house that they snuck up on. And
right. Kind of
hurry,
like,
let's shoot the scene before somebody catches us.
Put one piece of neon up real quick. But at the same time, it totally worked with what they were doing.
See, there's a little spoiler, but it's not going to ruin it.
Yeah. See, I mean, as a production designer,
it was very minimalistic. I liked.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But it wasn't about the set or the place. It was about the people and the situation they were in.
I saw something about the other day. I was watching TV and there was a primer on art direction on YouTube or something, and I started to get into it, and it really had the utter basics. It had all that stuff that you know, like rule of thirds stuff, and the oversaturation of color or undersaturation of color or elimination of a particular color, which is a real simple primer on where you start as a production designer. Of course, then you're analyzing textures, and you're analyzing you're trying to get discussions going with how your shots are going to be, and like that empty look that they got. It had to be followed with everybody. I mean, there were very few close-ups in the film, and when there were close-ups, they were very close.
Some of my favorite shots are like where they show people sitting far away.
Yeah, sitting far away,
and action kind of in between.
Right, and very few close-ups to go in and clarify things, because this film was not about clarifying anything, and it was okay with that. Whereas,
even when you think you know what's happening.
Yeah, you think you know. You think you know what's going to go on, but that ain't what's going to go on.
And then what you see in the trailer doesn't really match completely.
It doesn't.
I mean, you expect it to be a funny comedy kind of.
Exactly, and it's not. It's kind of a metered
I actually kind of left with a hollow feeling now that you say that. Hollow, or I kind of felt that way. Like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
But that's what it was about. I mean, it kind of.
But it's definitely going to get people thinking, I think. And I was pleasantly surprised. I think I'm going to give it a higher rating.
I'm going to give it a high rating. I know that.
We've only been talking about it for 10 minutes, so we must have liked it. We're already like...
We never talk about things for 10 minutes.
What about the special effects? There were very little. But
there were very few, but there were a couple of good ones.
Really good ones.
A couple of really. I mean, there was one effect that made me go, ugh.
I think all four of us in the theater.
Yeah, all four of us, all four of us in the theater kind of went. Ugh.
There's one thing I like though, the kind of over the top, masculine versus feminine kind of thing that was happening.
Yeah, it was I love the fact that at one point there's a discussion about testosterone.
Yes. And
it was pretty funny, actually.
And how females can't.
Right.
I won't say anything about that, but.
And that's not like apparent.
Well, I guess it depends on your parents.
Well, these you know what you did there?
Yeah. I know what I did.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. I'm
only a yellow belt in humor, so I'm working on it.
Yellow belt. And
I haven't earned the black belt yet.
Yeah. There was a white belt in accounting and a black belt in accounting.
So what'd you think of the female character? She was
I thought she was the only
one.
I thought she was absolutely excellent.
Yeah, she was.
Absolutely excellent and complicated, I might add.
I don't know how to say her first name, but it's Imogen?
Imogen?
I haven't heard.
Poots.
I don't know much about
Potts, Poots, something like that. I have to say that she was.
Anyway,
she played it so complicated.
She did. I think she might have had the hardest role.
There's no doubt about it, because Jesse Eisenberg had
Casey's his
role had a certain arc to it that he had to come back to, but she kept you guessing all the way through. You didn't know it, and it wasn't like a matter of there being sides to be on, because there really wasn't. But at the same time, it made you wonder what side she was on, which I know that doesn't make any sense. You have to see the film. The film. Everybody, go out and see the film.
So watch Karate Kid and then watch.
Don't watch.
This is like Karate Kid 2.
This is
how it should have been.
Oh well, I don't know about that.
And then the guy that played the sensei was. He was good enough. Let me put it that way. I don't think he was spectacular, but he had to be flat.
I think it was our job.
He had to be somewhat
to not
flat.
like him, and I think it was his job to make us not like him.
But he kind of I think for most of the movie, he was just flat. Like you didn't really feel either way about him.
But he had to be that way.
And it's the way he talked. He delivered his lines like this: "Let me tell you about karate. I'm going to show you how to kick and punch."
Karate.
Sensei. Anyway. So, I did like a couple of the violent. There were actually a lot of violent lines too, like when the former guy, the guy that was in charge.
Oh yeah,
something happened to him. That was pretty amazing how he said that.
It was an interesting film.
Yes.
So
I think you should see this if you like movies that are.
Yeah, I think
out of the ordinary kind of. This was an action movie, a horror movie, a little bit of dark comedy. It
kind of reminded me of when I would be watching when I was a kid, and we used to get into the theater on Saturdays.
Storytime.
Storytime with Miq. Storytime with Miq.
Storytime with Miq.
Storytime with Miq.
Storytime with Miq. Storytime with Miq. Storytime with Miq.
And Saturdays they would run like at least one Saturday a month. The whole Saturday was devoted to Hong Kong films.
Oh yeah.
And this is in the 60s, right? So So they weren't translated or anything. They would just run them. And the thing is just about this time, Bruce Lee did his first...
I was going to ask about Bruce. Yeah, was Bruce Lee part of it?
Yeah, it's just before I got into high school, and Bruce Lee was, was coming up. And so they would, to make the connection to Bruce Lee, they would just, run a whole bunch of Hong Kong films. And the elements that you get in a Hong Kong film where there's like an affectation somewhere. There's like a fight that's done on ladders, or you have a character that doesn't move except for all of a sudden he's above you and his sword goes through the top of your head, or that there was always some indicating strength that you were looking at. And
well, there's always one guy against 100.
Right, one guy gets 100
just standing there in the middle.
Yeah, and not maybe just twitching a little bit every now and everybody's being thrown all over.
Bruce Lee did that really well.
Yeah,
and actually, I think the only one that I can think of that I like. I mean, I love Jackie Chan, so I mean, I gotta say. Jackie Chan is very... But Jackie Chan... With the ladders and stuff, he's amazing.
But Jackie Chan stuff came a little bit later than that.
Well, that's who I remember kind of getting into.
Yeah, but I was talking... You know, there was this one film where I remember there was this a discussion by a creek, between two characters that were speaking a language that I didn't know, and all of a sudden you're seeing them both here like this, right?
Right.
And you see a guy walking up the path, and I remember just being kids, just like, wow, I know what's going to happen, And then he would walk up the path, and all of a sudden, he jumps up into the air, and he clears the frame, and swords go right down through the top of their heads. Of these.
Oh, awesome.
And then the camera turns around to see the guy landing. He lands in the water, and it was like, oh, that's just amazing. That's just amazing. Oh, man. I just remember watching films where San Bernardino, it only had it had the Crest Theater. And you could watch, it's like whatever weird film came to town was at the Crest, and there were always Disney films, all the Flubber films. Right. It would be Flubber, and you just wait until.
Who was the main character? Fred, was it?
No, Fred McMurray. Fred McMurray, right?
Yeah,
and this is the earlier Flubber.
See, I watched. What's really weird is like your memories of these early movies in the theater. Were my memories on like Saturday morning when I was a kid or Sunday morning watching these movies being replayed.
But you know what we were watching?
The Shaggy Dog.
Right, exactly. I was watching those in the
Fred
theaters.
McMurray.
The Flubber, the stuff that bounces.
Yeah.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. That was so much better than
all Robert Williams one too. By the way.
Oh my God! All those. Yeah. The genius who wore tennis shoes.
I'm sure the Nutty Professor was in that list.
Nutty Professor was there. Yeah, absolutely.
Blame it on the bellboy.
And we were watching all those in the theaters. And when we went home, after 11 o'clock at night, then you could watch all the horror films from the 30s and the 40s.
Wow.
I mean, you could sit down and I'm talking about really, you had at the most 7 or 8 channels, right? But none of them had anything to broadcast at night. Past like 11 o'clock, right? So past 11 o'clock, I mean, almost universally, you could. One of them would be playing the Wolfman. One of them would be playing.
Well, at least one of them was playing
the Invisible
Man with the music or something.
Well, that was like at 2 o'clock in the morning. That was 2 o'clock when they went off the air.
Right.
I remember every Saturday. My brother and I would be sitting there watching the Indian.
Yeah.
With the test pattern in black and white, the color test pattern in black and white, right? We'd be sitting there and we just have the TV on and right, and we're just watching it. Good morning. Oh no! It was better than. Dun, 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 dun. And they do the flag waving. We're like, get down with all this crap. Come on, we want to see our first cartoon.
Well, I remember like the ending. See, I'm always been a night owl my whole life, so I would sneak down and watch TV when my parents were asleep, and I'd be watching TV, and then I'd watch This concludes our broadcast.
This concludes our broadcast.
And it had like an eagle flying, and then and then it had like the flag, and then it went to static, like it just.
And I remember often technical difficulties.
Right.
Remember like how they have like a card. Somebody hold up a card, and some guy like going. Doing like he's running around with test tubes and stuff like this, going technical difficulties, right? Because it happened all the time.
What's weird is when my first job actually was an internship at a PBS station.
Yeah,
one of the guys that worked at this station, I don't think he lost his job for this, but basically he was the guy that worked in master control, so he had to like push all these buttons. So he had a habit of like watching his own TV shows, and. Make sure they didn't go on the air. So you put it on the monitor.
Right.
And actually, I did this later on in my career.
Right.
I did this when I worked for Fox. I was watching something.
Put your own shows on.
Well, I was watching something on a live remote.
Right.
Like on a live satellite. I was watching a satellite feed.
Right.
And I put that in the monitor, and I accidentally put it on the air for a while.
Right.
But it wasn't anything bad. It was just the wrong show. So I just kind of switched it back and never said anything. Nobody noticed. Nobody said anything. I just moved on with my life. But this guy was watching porn. This is on PBS.
Oh!
So there were all these calls. It was like 3 a.m, so there weren't that many calls.
Right.
But it was only on for like about 10 seconds, I guess. But I was like, the guy didn't get fired, and I'm like, they didn't fire him? It's like, he must be really important.
I remember we were doing a show right next to the Channel 7 News, and it was on the Disney lot, and it was like one of their. They had expanded this stage. They had a stage, and they basically cut it in half because they used to use the whole stage for their newsroom, but then they completely digitized their newsroom. So it was just this camera running around all by itself, right? Which is the weirdest thing to watch, by the way.
Was it on the ground or was it on a track? Like.
No, it was on a doll, a robot dolly, right? And it would go like it would do this segment, and then all of a sudden it'd go over here and go to that one.
Wow!
And like there were like 2 of them, like so that there was always like one guy, and there's no operator, it just like completely was the freakiest thing to watch. Was it
automated, or was somebody in the control room like going?
No, evidently it was totally automated. I mean, it had a guy that literally was standing next to me the day that I watched the news. He was standing next to me.
Right.
I mean, he was nowhere near a control panel. He was just...
He was there in case something happened.
He kind of pushed the start button, and then it just did
He's
everything.
Like the guy in the self-driving car in the driver's seat.
Exactly. Like, that guy.
Waiting for something to happen.
He was that guy. That's absolutely right.
How boring would that be?
Oh, my God. Yeah, exactly, right? Just reading a book, right? Exactly. Right. So anyway, we were the first people that were in the other part of the stage, and we were doing like, all those weird things that I did, in the 2000s. And NDA stuff, I think it had something to do with a Chihuahua in Hollywood and all this, but I'm not going to go into that.
That sounds amazing.
But
is that the one? Hollywood Dog? Was that a different one?
No. That was
earlier.
Yeah, that was Hollywood Dog was way earlier. We got to talk about Hollywood Dog someday. Anyway, so we're in there and we're filming, and the director wanted smoke, and evidently one thing that they hadn't thought of is that the air conditioning unit was the same one for both sides. And so when we smoked up,
right,
and we were doing like a heavy smoke horror film thing, and all of a sudden the news the guy who was reading, the guy who had been reading standing next to me the day before when I was watching the news, came in and just was cursing me up and down. He's like, "You stupid son of a bitch! You realize that they can't even see in there?" I go, "What? What are you talking about?" And he says, "The newsroom. You smoked up the newsroom." So there was the I think it was like the 5 o'clock news or something like that, and you couldn't see it. Literally, it was like, seen through, So I was like, yeah. Okay.
And that was back when they probably had the TV monitor next to them where they went to clips.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you couldn't see the
right.
TV monitor either.
You couldn't see anything. Absolutely nothing. I was like, oh.
I would have rolled with it if I was the anchor. I would have said, hey, we got some heavy smog today.
Well, the funny thing about it is it took a great deal of me and the producer trying to talk them down from kicking us out, because here's the thing. They rented us the stage. So,
Yeah.
So, and they were well, if there's a problem here, we could kick you guys out. And I go, well, yeah, but you're the problem. It's not us. I mean, nowhere in our agreement does it say atmospheres, particles in the air, because come on, they didn't think that. Nobody thought about the air conditioning system. Right. That's the thing that always gets you infected.
They're probably worried about noise and stuff, probably, right?
Yeah, they had soundproofed it,
yeah.
and here's the thing: is somebody must have thought about something because it was trapped.
Oh,
which meant that sound didn't travel from one side to the other. And the way that you do that is baffle high, baffle low, baffle high, baffle low, through the air conditioning duct. So they went through that much trouble.
Wow!
Right? So. It was totally their problem, but boy, they were really touchy about it. Who cares? Eyewitness news.
If I owned a
there were
TV
7
station,
people in LA at the time that were probably upset.
In fact, you're giving me some ideas. I want to buy like a news station and like works like fog and like horror into it, like somehow.
Really, and just somebody killed the sports guy. Just literally see the sports guy get massacred by the weatherman.
Once a week, I would have the sports guy get murdered by somebody in a different way.
Exactly,
and
right?
have a new sports guy like every week. But no,
this is the 3rd plane crash we've had in the studio this week.
But I'd have like legit news on it too, though. I wouldn't just be like,
no, actual news that just gets interrupted by the. It's like the guy says there was a plane wreck, and he looks out at looks over at his caster, and then all of a sudden the plane just comes right through.
I would have the plane crash, and I'd have the other anchor say, "A plane crash today at."
A plane crash today at what time is it, Bill? Yeah,
I killed a sports guy
and killed the sports guy and a weatherman. Sports guy, the weatherman, 2 PAs, and my agent. Damn it!
He's mad about the agent. Yeah,
he's mad about the agent. Yeah. No, PAs are...
It's hard to get good agents around here.
Yeah, you can use a PA as a wheel chalk for anybody who cares.
So, yeah, if anybody's selling a TV station for a reasonable price, and I mean reasonable.
Really reasonable. Come on, people. Come on.
I could probably wait 10 years. I could probably buy one for $500.
Yeah, fair. Really. Because ain't nobody going to be watching TV.
I'll do UHF.
Yeah, that's right. UHF.
Is that even a thing anymore? I mean,
like 50.
How many TVs out there can still get UHF signals?
UHF was, what was that? Above channel 28, right?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. If you went to, there's 13 channels.
Right. And then it started going like really...
And then as it went up above that, there was another knob on the TV.
Yeah, well, I had like the knob that would go...
Like right. Because it was then supposed to be able to go to 50.
Yeah.
But the thing is, those were UHF channels. And the thing is, if 3 of them worked, you could be amazed. Right.
Of course, those are usually religious channels.
We went, my wife and I, we were... I invited her up when I was working on Runaway Train, and we were working up in Alaska, and we're like 70 miles outside of Anchorage, and then at a place called Alaska Resort, and then we would leave on the trains and go way out from there. So we're actually in the resort, and I think that we had like 3 or 4 channels on TV, but one of them was a PBS channel. It was like public television.
Right.
And this guy had such a great shtick. I swear to God, he was like pleading for money. I mean,
Oh, okay. So it was like a pledge
pleading.
drive.
Like it was a pledge
I remember
drive.
those.
It was a pledge drive, but it was just so there's just one guy in the
Just one
studio
guy by himself.
with a one light. he literally had a desk light that he had taken and and it was like mostly affectation.
Of
You
course,
could tell,
yeah.
but he's just begging. He's like, please,
keep the lights on
We
in
got to
here."
keep the lights on. My wife and I are looking at it going, wow, that's really weird. And the thing is, and then we changed the channel, and it was My Dog Spot. Who was that guy? Ralph?
By the way, you have to see the movie UHF with Weird Al if you haven't seen it.
I've seen it. I just
had to get that in there.
Cal Worthington.
Okay.
So Cal Worthington literally had a car place in Alaska.
Okay.
He had one in Southern California. I was like, well, check that out. And there was Cal Worthington in the snow, trying
Wasn't
to
he like I thought I connect him to like Texas or
California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Texas, California, Arizona, and Alaska of all things.
Wow.
And there he is. It was great because the shtick that he had was he was walking a white bear. Like a. I'm not sure. It kind of like what's weird is it didn't look like a polar bear, but at the same time it was white. So I was wondering if they spray painted it.
Yeah.
I'm almost sure that they did.
It's probably that same paint they use for Christmas trees.
Definitely. Yeah, flocked it. And here he is in Alaska doing these ads, where people are trying to dig the cars out in the background. The snow's coming down. It was pretty funny. And so there was that. And then the guy on the PBS TV. It was really interesting to watch, for about a minute.
Right.
Then it was like, let's go to the place that has the great cinnamon rolls.
There you go.
So back to the movie, which was called.
At this point, I have no idea.
We have gone so far down a rabbit hole here that.
Speaking of
rabbit hole, hey,
you have a new podcast.
I do. I have a new podcast called Rabbit Hole, and it's all one word. Just rabbit hole, and we're only on like the 5th or 6th episode, and I think that we have yet to figure out exactly what it does.
Huh.
But it is pretty funny. I know that. I've told a story or two. I'm gonna say.
I'm gonna have to listen to an episode. I feel guilty because I haven't heard any yet.
You don't have to.
I'm just like, do I have to listen to his voice again?
Yeah, I would wonder about that.
I was listening to you on an interview actually on the Black. What was that?
Black Lodge.
Was it Black Panther?
No.
Screaming from the Black Lodge or something.
Yeah, the Black Lodge.
I'm destroying the name of their podcast.
You really sure are. Yeah,
But,
Brandon. What's his name from the
anyway,
Black?
I thought they did an excellent job, and I got halfway through the interview, but I had to speed it up because I had to get through your voice. Like,
that's what I do.
And you really sound like a chipmunk when it's sped up. It's amazing.
I do. I mean, and I'm definitely not Alvin. I'm a Theodore. I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the film again. I swear I'm gonna get us to the point of like
the Art of Self-Defense.
The Art of Self-Defense. That's right. I really want to give it a 3.5.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I want to go a little bit higher just because I want to go higher.
You always do. Yeah. You always want to get higher. And you always want to get a little higher.
I think it would be a 3.5 for me if it wasn't for the really violent things that I saw. So I'd give it a 3.8.
3 points for violence.
That actually scored a lot of points with me. Just like,
ooh, yeah.
I'm always like, well, there's a point though. Like a Saw movie can go too far.
Yes,
or Human Centipede can go way too far. Or I just get to the point where I'm just disgusted. But there's some stuff that I like that's violent and it's not too much, but it's just right amount that makes me go, ooh.
It was kind of funny though.
Right. Yeah, it could be funny. Or
it was such a great setup for the one. For the one.
Right.
The one, oh man. It was like,
and things have evolved since the 80s when they were using rubber masks and really bad CGI.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we don't.
I gotta say the rubber mask though usually worked, but
there was no bad CGI in the 80s. There was no CGI at all.
Oh, there wasn't.
Yeah.
Opticals. That's what I mean to say.
Opticals, yeah.
They're really
blue
bad
screen.
optical effects.
Yeah, blues. Yeah,
Yes.
now there was a lot of really
Yes.
bad optical effects. Yes.
So anyway,
I
I don't know what just happened, but
Yeah, go see Cal.
this was an excellent episode, I gotta say.
Go see Cal. Go see Cal. Go see Cal. If you want a better car, go see Cal. If you don't want to go so far, go see Cal. What's the rest of it? I can. Go see Cal. Go see Cal. Go see Cal.
Here's Cal Worthington and his dog Spot.
If you need a better car, go see Cal. For the best deal by far, go see Cal. If you want your payments low, if you want to save some dough, go see Cal, go see Cal, go see Cal. Any model, any make, go see Cal. Give your pocketbook a break, go see Cal. Save some money, save some time, save a nickel, save a dime, lower prices every time, go see Cal. Oh, jalopies on the blink, go see Cal. Maybe later than you think, go see Cal. 1,000 cars from which to choose, let him drive away your blues. Go see Cal, go see Cal, go see Cal.
Thanks for joining us on the Dream Warrior Review podcast. Don't forget to tell your friends about us, follow us, and, of course, like us. We can be found on Podbean, which is an amazing app, YouTube, Stitcher, Alexa on any pod, iTunes, Google Play. We're on Twitter as well, at DW Review, and, of course, Facebook. You can find us there. You can also email us at dreamwarriorreview@gmail.com.